He's Chris, I'm Pierre, and we're here to help you win by telling you who to avoid. And let's start out with your first pick, Chris. Who do you think might bust in week 9?
I don't think he might bust. I feel fairly confident he will bust, and that is Mike Davis. He had 5 catches to kind of save his day for a nice 11-point PPR game, but I'm not expecting that this week against the Saints. If you recall, last week I had Leonard Fournette as a bust because he was playing the Saints. I took a lot of hate in the comments, but hope you enjoyed his 7 fantasy points that he got you against the Saints. I don't even know if Mike Davis is going to get you 7 fantasy points this week because unlike Leonard Fournette, he doesn't get that much usage and he's not as good. I mean, you have to be extremely desperate to start Mike Davis this week. Like literally no other running backs available for you to start Mike Davis. Cannot trust them in this matchup.
And look, I get it. Some of you probably are at running back these days. Yeah, there just aren't a lot of options, but trust me, try somebody else, like just not Mike Davis this week. Here's a name you might not be expecting, but you remember when Mike Williams was like the leading receiver in all of fantasy? And then, well, he's fallen back to earth in a hard way. So the last 2 weeks, 2 catches for 27 yards, 2 catches for 19 yards. No coincidence that also Justin Herbert has kind of fallen on his face. The last 3 weeks have been some of the worst games of his short, but to this point, brilliant career. Regression was bound to happen for Williams, right? He wasn't going to go on that pace that he was. The Eagles are not a good matchup, especially for wide receivers. They got big play Slay there on the outside. It's just not happening these days for the Chargers. Look, I think they'll turn it around. I'm not worried long-term about this team and this offense as a whole, but you have to look in the fact that they are in a funk. Williams has just not been startable, and this matchup kind of begs you not to start him. All right, we're gonna get to some more bust plays. First, don't forget, if you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and do that now and click the like button if you like the advice we're giving out. All right, Chris, let's keep it going. Give me another bust.
I'm going to say Khalil Herbert will be a bust this week, even if Damian Williams doesn't play, because they're going against the Steelers. The Steelers just held Nick Chubb to 3.8 yards per carry. They're going to be even better against the Bears. This is not an offense that the Steelers defense cannot handle. Khalil Herbert, he's been great, right? He's been great if you picked him up off waivers. I just don't think he does it this week in this matchup because really he's going to need a touchdown to do anything. I just don't see how this Bears offense moves the ball against the Steelers, really puts up any kind of a fight. I just think this is a week where you got to bench Khalil Herbert if you can. I know it's tough because it's running back and there's not a lot of them out there. But if possible, you should bench Khalil Herbert in week 9.
I mean, you've got to love what Herbert's done this year. But again, the Steelers, you already mentioned the Saints and the Bucks. Those are the 3 defenses that you really don't want to put a running back against. Those are kind of those shutdown defenses. The Chargers inexplicably have become this kind of reverse funnel defense, a run funnel defense where you can run all day against them, you cannot pass. Wide receivers are having a really tough time producing against the Chargers. And so who do the Eagles have at wide receiver? It's Devontae Smith, and that's pretty much it. Look, Jalen Reagor injured last week. Quez Watkins, not really a factor. Devontae Smith, we know he's had some big games, but he's also disappeared, and lately, he's also on the decline. Last week, just 1 catch for 15 yards. I will confess, if you watched last week's must-start wide receivers, I said to start Devontae Smith. I mean, it was the Lions. He was getting a fair amount of targets. Everything was pointing to a Devontae Smith boom. It was the opposite. That whole game just went sideways from a fantasy perspective. Jalen Hurts really did nothing. Sorry, Chris. For the first time, Devontae Smith did nothing. Kenny Gainwell did nothing. It was basically Boston Scott and Jordan Howard. So it was one of those weird things. I don't think that we can trust Devontae Smith this week. Look, I'm okay with him rest of the season, but this matchup where the Chargers are clamping down on wide receivers, Smith is not that type of guy that is reliable enough to roll out. So I'm benching Smith flat out. All right, let's keep going, Chris. Another guy that you're fading.
I'm saying you absolutely cannot start Matt Ryan in week 9. There's just no way. First of all, it's the Saints. We saw what they did to Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. I mean, sure, Tom Brady still had a nice game because he's Tom Brady, but he looked like one of the worst games maybe since that New England game that we've seen all year from Tom Brady. Now we're talking about Matt Ryan. The Saints typically dominate Matt Ryan anyways. He's not going to have Calvin Ridley more than likely. Kyle Pitts, for as great as he will be, is a rookie. He's up and down. He'll make a great play, and then he'll make a boneheaded play like he dropped that pass that would have extended the drive. Yeah, he's got Cordero Patterson out of the backfield, but This team just does not have a lot of weapons around Matt Ryan. And against this defense, I just don't see how he does anything. I mean, even one touchdown would feel like a victory for Matt Ryan this week. So absolutely no way can you start Matt Ryan in any format.
Yeah, I think the Dirty Birds might do you dirty if you trust him this week. Josh Jacobs here, banged up the week before with a chest injury. Doesn't look like it's serious. So the good news is he will probably be back. Of course, it's a little early to say for sure, but here's the bad news. He's not going to get the number of touches he had been getting before, and not because of the injury. Kenyon Drake has gotten more involved, and we've heard a lot of talk out of Vegas that, first of all, Josh Jacobs himself has said he's glad to see Drake more involved. He's tired of kind of having to carry the whole load himself. Kenyon Drake has also said that it took him a while to kind of acclimate to a new city, new town, new team, and all that. And now he feels comfortable. And we saw it, right? This last game that they played before the bye, he's scoring touchdowns, getting involved. Everything is starting to look like what we expected before the season. It's going to be kind of a timeshare. Drake's been getting receptions anyways, and Jacobs, he just hasn't really been effective with the work he's getting. We were happy to see all the touches, but he's only averaging 3.4 yards per carry. So he hasn't really been getting it done. So if the volume starts to take a dip, then so will his production. I just don't think the upside is there. All right, we're gonna get to our final bust picks. Before we do that, let me remind you, we do have Patreon page. Check out information in the description below. That way you can support us besides just subscribing to this channel. Buy us a cup of coffee, and in return, we will pay you with even more exclusive perks and fantasy football advice, including our Sunday lineup advice show just for Patreon. All right, one more bust for week 9.
All right, well, he busted in week 8. I think he's going to bust again in week 9, and that is Nick Chubb. And you look at this, you say it's the Bengals. The Bengals are only allowing 3.9 yards per carry. Where the Bengals are getting crushed is running backs who catch passes, and we saw that last week with Michael Carter. They're giving up the most receptions to running backs in the entire NFL. Well, that's a problem for Nick Chubb, because guess what? He doesn't catch any passes. 1 catch last week with no Kareem Hunt. 6 catches on the entire season. So he's not going to be able to take advantage of the fact that the Bengals can't stop pass catching running backs. He's going to just be the guy he is. He's going to be a touchdown dependent 15 to 20 carry guy, which is great. But if he doesn't score a touchdown, like we saw last week, he's only getting you 8-9 points. Is that going to kill your week? No. But when you drafted Nick Chubb in the first round or early second round, that absolutely is a bust. So no, you can't sit Nick Chubb. Just be ready for another game where he disappoints for your fantasy team.
I do recall several times, in fact, most of the preseason when we talked about draft advice, you saying Nick Chubb is not a first rounder. It's sort of proven to be true. All right, and then my last pick. Sometimes we do a 2-for-1, or we talk about a position group. I'm just gonna go ahead and throw in an entire team here. This may feel like piling on at this point, but I don't care because I've never been a fan of Urban Meyer. So I'm just gonna say the entire Jaguars team. Don't start Trevor Lawrence. Marvin Jones, no thank you. Never Chenault, I'm with you there. Okay, you just can't put these guys in your lineup. James Robinson, he's been great. Bruce Hill might not play. If he does play, he'll be limited. And you know what? I don't care. It's the Buffalo Bills, the #1 defense in the league. Bottom line for me is I am not putting any Jaguars in my lineup. All right, that does it. Those are our busts for week 9. Let us know what you think. You can hit us up with a comment here below. Or, of course, join us on Discord all season long. We keep the conversation going. So you can join. Check the description below for the link and information on that. As always, thanks for watching and good luck.